Hello you guys, and welcome to today's video. It is the new year. Obviously, I feel like everybody said that. You've probably heard that a million times, but I'm just gonna say it again. For 2021, I thought I'd start it off with a fun little book haul of some books that I've acquired within the past couple of months. Most of these I already read because once winter break hit, I was on a reading kick. I could not be, but here we are. I'm very excited to show you, and let's just get into the video. So the first book that I picked up is In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. This is obviously a Christmassy themed book. This is Christina Lauren's most recent release. They came out with this, I want to say in like October or November of 2020, and it basically is Groundhog's Day but like the Christmas version. It follows a girl named Maylin Jones who is very comfortable in the life that she lives to the point where it's boring, and she needs some excitement in her life, some happiness. So every Christmas her family and her family friends all gather at this one cabin in, I believe, Utah, and they just have a grand old time. And this is actually the last time that they're all going to be there because they're having to sell the house. But on their way to the airport after their trip, they get hit by a car, and she wakes up on the airplane on their way to the cabin in Utah. So that's where like the whole Groundhog Day vibes come in. And honestly, I very much enjoyed this book. Not as much as some of the other books that I've read from Christina Lauren, because the other two books I've read from them are like 5 out of 5, almost all-time favorites. This one wasn't quite up there for me, but I still really enjoyed it. I didn't even explain to you why the trip repeats. Basically, she wishes for like happiness or like some sign, and then that's when she gets hit by the car and it repeats the trip all over again. The way that they wrote this, I feel like it didn't get repetitive at all. Well, like obviously it was to a certain extent, but not to the point where it was annoying, which I thought they did really well. And it was just a great romantic little holiday read, and very much enjoyed reading this on my winter break. The next book that I picked up, honestly, I think actually my mom got this for me last year and I've just been waiting to read it, but that is One Day in December by Josie Silver. This is another Christmassy, wintry read, but it's not as Christmassy as In a Holidays. It just like, it starts off in December, but it goes throughout, honestly, I feel like 10 years. This follows a girl named Lori who one day in December is taking a bus ride home, and at one of the stops she looks out the window and meets eyes with this one guy, and for a moment there is just pure magic. Love is in the air. He tries to get onto the bus, but it drives away sadly, and she spends the next couple of months trying to find this mysterious guy, when all of a sudden he turns up, but as her roommate's boyfriend. And so that obviously throws a wrench in her plans of falling in love and all of that. But you get to see the relationship kind of evolve over, I think it's 10 years. Maybe it's not, I don't know. But yeah, so I enjoyed that read. The next one I don't physically have in my hands because I borrowed it from Olivia, but this was my first book of the year and I devoured it in 24 hours. It was so good. I loved it. I give it 5 out of 5 stars, and that is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. So I read my first Christina Lauren book last year, which was Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. Loved it. So great. 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read In a Holidays, which I enjoyed. Not my absolute favorite, just because for them the bar is so high, and it didn't quite meet that bar. In a Holidays didn't, but it was still like thoroughly enjoyable. And then I read Love in Other Words, and it met that bar. It really did for me. And I don't know, it was so cute. I need to explain what it's about. So Love in Other Words is about Macy and Elliot, and it's got these like parallel timelines from when they were younger and them kind of growing up and falling in love, but then also 10 years later where they had some sort of falling out and they're kind of trying to piece together their relationship again. That's the basic premise. It's hard to explain because there's 2 different timelines here, as I said, but the one where they're younger, It goes from when they're 12 all the way up to when they're 18, and they share this love for words and like books and reading, and that's kind of how their relationship starts. And then obviously something happens and they don't meet up till 10 years later when Macy sees Elliot in this cafe, and he comes up to her and is like, hey, like, I haven't seen you in 10 years. You're such a big part of each other's life. What happened? And basically, Elliot is very upfront about how he feels about Macy, and that's a place of tension because Macy is engaged to this one man, but it's not necessarily like a thriving relationship, so you'll deal with that and kind of like the parallel timelines, and I just very much enjoyed it. I don't want to overhype it because I want people to like enjoy it, but it was a 5 out of 5 for me. The next book that I picked up is Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. This is my first Colleen Hoover book and will not be my last. This is about a girl named Bea who, after her mother dies, she goes to live with her father for the summer until she can move out and go to college. But her father, she doesn't really know that well. She would only spend like 1 week in the summer with him every year when she was younger, and then hasn't seen him in like a couple of years. But she's obviously put in this place where she needs somewhere to live, so she calls him up and she goes to live with him. But he has a very different lifestyle than her. She kind of grew up in a trailer park and poor, but her father, who's remarried, lives a very bougie lifestyle, and they go to his summer house in, I want to say it's like in a peninsula off of Texas. And from there, she meets their neighbor. What's his name again? Samson. And they start to form a relationship, but they come from two very different backgrounds. Yeah, okay, that's basically it. I very much enjoyed this book up until the ending, the little twist. I don't know why I didn't like the little twist at the end. It was just not what I wanted for this book, but I will say I still very much enjoyed it. It was just like, it was doing so well until the ending, and then that threw me off a little bit. But overall, I very much enjoyed this book. It intrigued me. It was set in summer, so I was like, let's read it. Let's throw that in the TBR pile, and I very much enjoyed it. So the next book I picked up is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This I got for Christmas, and I've been wanting to read for years, probably since like 6th grade, honestly. And I feel like everybody in middle school read this, except for me. So this is, honestly, I don't know how to explain the plot. It's just about these 4, well, they're like family members, but then one of them is like a family friend, and they spend every summer on this island that they own because they're super rich, and it's just about their adventures in the summer. This kind of goes back and forth between summer 15 and summer 18. That's how they label their summers on the island, is by their age. I'm not gonna lie, for about 75% of this book, I was confused, but like in a good way that kept me wanting to read. And the chapters are like super short, which made this book fly by. And it was a different kind of writing style for me to read, which I enjoyed. But the ending was not expecting at all. Entertainment value, sure, I enjoyed this book. Were there a few things I didn't like? Yes, but for the most part, I was entertained, kept me in this world, and yeah. Okay, moving on to the book that I'm currently reading, and I cannot wait to finish because I ordered the second book, which is coming on Monday. That is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. She is a little thick. It's about this girl who's a maiden. Basically, she was chosen at birth to, I don't even, you know what? I'm about almost done with this book, and I don't actually know what her role is. I'm not gonna lie. Here's the thing. The way I'm about to explain this is gonna make no sense because you have to know the world, and since this is the first book, there's a lot of world building, and I can't explain all that because it's a little complicated, not gonna lie. But basically, she was chosen because she's part of this whole like ascension, and I don't even know how to explain it because in my head it like makes sense, but not really. You guys, I don't know. Oh, Taryn's calling me. Yeah.
Buy the book.
Girl, I don't know if I was watching that part. My eyes were closed for 75% of that movie.
No, the one that's like, no, the one that's like.
Oh, Ruben? I'm I'm sorry, you guys. I got a little sidetracked because Taryn FaceTimed me and then Molly and Adrian got involved. And anyways, we're back. I remember exactly where I was. I was explaining to you how I don't actually know what her role is in this ascension thing. I feel like my confusion is valid because there's like a whole kind of secret about the ascension and how it's played out and like all of that. Anyways, so she was chosen. She's a maiden. She has to cover her face at all times, and her body she wears like a veil. She can't have any friends, can't socialize or talk with people except for her maid and her bodyguards. She can't go out. There's a lot of restrictions on her life. And then she gets a new personal guard and he spices some things up. They start to form a little relationship, which is forbidden, and that's like the premise of the story, but there's also like so much more because it's a fantasy and there's like this whole world, and I'm just having a great time reading this. The next book that I got, I don't physically have with me, but it's the second book from Blood and Ash, and I believe it's called Kingdom of Flesh and Bone. Don't quote me on that. I have no clue what it's about because I don't want to read the premise and ruin the first book. So, very excited to read that. She comes in 2 days. And everybody says they really enjoy the first one, but the second one is like chef's kiss. So I can't wait for the second one, even though I'm very much enjoying the first. The next book that I have, I got for Christmas, and that is Love and Olives by Jenna Evans Welch. This is part of the whole like Love and Gelato companion series. I read Love and Gelato, I don't even know when. I feel like sometime in middle school. It was super cute, super fun, just really enjoyed it. And then I read Love and Luck over quarantine, and that one surprised me because I guess I kind of forgot about Love and Gelato and like how I felt about it and what it was about. And so when I picked up Love and Luck, I was thoroughly surprised to have enjoyed it as much as I did. And so I'm excited to read Love and Olives, which is the third book that came out last year. And the reason I really wanted to read it was because it takes place in Greece, and a lot of people said it gives off kind of like Mamma Mia vibes, which I absolutely adore Mamma Mia. I love it, so good. It's like one of my guilty pleasure movies. So I really thought that I'd enjoy this book as well. This is about a girl named Liv who has this whole fascination with the lost city of Atlantis, and that's kind of what like bonds her and her dad, but she doesn't live with her dad. Her parents are divorced, I believe, and he lives in Greece. And so when National Geographic tells him that they're gonna fund some sort of like research or like something for the lost city of Atlantis, he invites Liv to come to Greece with him. Honestly, I don't even know if they're divorced. I think I just made that up. In my head, he lives in Greece, and so she goes to visit him, but I don't know if that's true, and that could be completely false. But there's always romance in these books because it has the word love in the title. And I feel like this is just going to be a fun, summery read, even though it's winter, and going to bring me a lot of joy. The last book that I have to share with you guys is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This one I've heard a lot about, and I just never picked it up, and I finally decided to because it was on sale at Barnes & Noble. And this is the kind of like prequel to the Queen of Hearts and kind of how she became the Queen of Hearts, which I think is going to be really interesting because I haven't read any books about how villains become villains, or like the prequel to a villain story. Anyways, her name is Catherine, and she is this baker in Wonderland who has caught the attention of the unmarried king, but she doesn't really like reciprocate his feelings. And then Jest comes into the story, and she starts to fall for him even though the king is falling for her, and this whole love triangle. That's all I know. I'm realizing that all of these books are either romance or fantasy, and I really want to diversify my reads for this year. I do have other books of other genres on my TBR for this year. Some mystery, some sci-fi, so definitely want to switch it up a little bit for the year. But as a nice start, we've just got romance and fantasy, which are probably my top two. well, I guess contemporary too, but anyways, okay, doesn't matter, nobody cares. Those are all the books that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.
So long silent movies, the quiet dances on the screen.